All right, class. So today we're gonna talk about again axis of symmetry, vertex, and then I'm gonna give you time to work on your EOC review stuff. Okay. So I'm gonna go straight to the axis of symmetry, vertex stuff because you need as much time as possible to work on your other stuff. Let's see, I don't see these people in the classroom. She told me to send to her. Okay, I don't see those folks. All right. So let's go to new page, notebook. What page are we on right now? We're on page 24. We're doing page 24. Skip 23 is going to be your exponential function notes from the video. So you don't have to skip pages unless you want to. Just make sure it's numbered because you're going to take a picture of it and put it into your digital interactive notebook anyway. So you can just 23, you can make a mental note. 23 is going to be exponential functions video from the EOC review, but we're going to be on page, today we're doing page 24. Okay. So this is page 24. Got a few more folks in. All right, so today we're working on axis of symmetry, vertex, and we're also going to be finding zeros. Okay. All right, so this is quarter 4. This is page, I forgot, just a quick 24. 23 is EOC review, number 5, I believe, number 5. This we're going to label as, we'll let some more folks in. We're going to be finding the axis of symmetry, AOS, vertex, and zeros of a quadratic function. Okay, guys, at any time that you don't understand something, you need to stop and let me know because it is extremely important. It's going to be hard to answer word problems on this stuff next week if we don't understand these parts, okay? So I'm going to go through with you again the parts of a quadratic function. Remember that a quadratic function is either an upward or downward U, and I actually drew a downward U first. This one is downward, parabola. And remember, parabola is a U-shaped line, and this one is an upward parabola. And again, a parabola is a U-shaped line, okay? The highest or lowest point of a parabola, is called the vertex. The highest or lowest point of the parabola is called the vertex. The highest or lowest point of a parabola is called the vertex. The only reason why I keep going through this over and over again is because I really want it to stick. Even though I've said these words before, I just want to keep saying them until we get it, okay? The line, the invisible line that cuts the parabola in half, what do you think that's called? Anybody remember what the invisible is called? Your axis of symmetry. Okay, this invisible line that cuts the parabola in half is called the axis of symmetry. What's the abbreviation for axis of symmetry? AOS. And since the axis of symmetry is a vertical line, the equation for that is going to be x is equal to a number. So your answer for axis of symmetry is always going to be x is equal to, because it's a vertical line. It goes through the x-axis. So equations that are vertical lines are not y equals mx plus b. They're just x is equal to a number. If it's an up and down vertical line, straight vertical line, the equations for vertical lines are x is equal to a number. And that number is going to be wherever the line crosses the x-axis. So if it crosses the x-axis at 5, the equation for that line is going to be x is equal to 5. Questions, comments, or concerns? Okay. All right. So I'm going to add one more thing. I'm going to add something else to your thought process. Oh, before I do that, do not forget that the vertex that is, well, I already pointed to this one. This vertex, because it's the lowest point of the line, is called your minimum value. Remember, it's an ordered pair, x, y. This vertex, since it's the highest point of the line, is called our max value, maximum value. Okay. All right. So we have, the next thing we need to add to this are your zeros, roots, and x-intercepts, which they all mean the same thing. They all mean the same thing. Roots or zeros, roots, and x-intercepts, they all have the same meaning. This is where your parabola crosses the x-axis. Okay. It's where your parabola crosses the x-axis. Where your parabola crosses the x-axis. Any questions so far? No questions? All right, so let's do some examples of how to find them each. Let's do an example of how to find each. Okay. All of these values can be found in the calculator. All of these values can be found in the calculator, but we're going to do it by pencil and paper first, and I'll show you calculator next week. Okay. All right. So let's do this example. We have this parabola, y is equal to x squared. This makes it a parabola because of this x squared term, minus 5x minus 14. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to find is, actually, I'm just going to put the list of things we're going to find. Our AOS is going to be first. Okay. Then we're going to find our vertex. Then we're going to find our zeros. I was going to put roots first. It don't matter. They're all the same. Roots slash zeros slash x-intercepts. You could see any of those words. They all mean the same thing. It's where your parabola crosses the x-axis. Okay. All right, so let's do axis of symmetry first. All right, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to my next page and do that. So I have y is equal to x squared minus 5x. And my axis of symmetry formula is x is equal to, this is AOS first, x is equal to negative b divided by 2a. So the first thing that we do is we label our A, our B, and our C. Okay? Our A is the number that's in front of the x squared term, which is 1. Our B is the number or the coefficient that is attached to the x variable, which is negative 5. And our C does not have a variable attached to it at all. It's like our constant, and that's negative 14. Make sure you take the sign that's in front of it. For axis of symmetry, you only need A and B. So I'm going to substitute. Okay, I got negative. It's already in the formula. B is also negative 5 divided by 2 times my A, which is 1. So this is going to give me a negative times a negative is going to make this a positive 5 divided by 2. So what's my axis of symmetry here? What's 5 divided by 2? What's half? 2.5. Okay. So x is equal to 2.5. So the line is going to go through 2.5 on the x-axis. This is my AOS. Okay, this is how I write that. Write that here as x is equal to 2.5. This is the vertical line that cuts the parabola in half. Any questions about why I'm writing x is equal to 2.5? Okay, so now I'm going to find my vertex. Remember, my vertex is either my lowest or it's my highest part of the line. Well, Ms. Reyes, how do I know if it's going to be the lowest or the highest point without graphing it? You see this A term here? If A is a positive number, it's an upward parabola. So if it's an upward parabola, it's going to be minimum value. See this A term? If it's a negative, it's going to be a downward parabola. So if it's a downward parabola, that means it has a maximum value. Since this A is a positive number, it's an upward U. So that means the value that I'm getting ready to find for vertex is going to be the lowest point. Any questions about that? Okay, so let's find our vertex. Lord help me. Our vertex for this one, because our A this is going to be an upward parabola. So our vertex right here is going to be a minimum value. So our ordered pair, we know we have to have an ordered pair. We have to have an X, we have to have a Y. Our X is always going to be our AOS. So our AOS is 2.5. Okay, and that makes sense because remember, our axis of symmetry is the vertical line that cuts the parabola in half. So our x is our axis of symmetry. So now all we have to do is figure out what y is. So all we do is substitute the x value into the equation to find y. Okay, so rewrite the equation. And replace x with 2.5. So we have y is equal to 2.5 squared minus 5 times 2.5 minus 14. Okay. This is, make sure this is a, this is a point, 2.5. Let's use our calculator and type this in. So we have, up a little bit. We have 2.5 squared minus 5 times 2.5 minus 14. That's how we type it in. This is going to give us negative 20.25. So our y value is negative 20.25. This is our axis of symmetry. I mean our vertex, sorry. Are you okay? Are y'all okay? Okay. All right. So we're going to write this for our axis of symmetry. Okay. You still writing? Addison, you still writing? Okay. This was our AOS at the top. This is our axis of symmetry. You got it, babe? Okay. All right, so we're going to write our vertex here. That was 2.5, comma, negative 20.25. Okay. So now we're going to figure out where the parabola crosses the x-axis. So this is possibility that could happen. I'm going to show you all possible solutions. You can have 3 possible solutions, okay? Okay, either it's going to cross, a U can cross in 2 places, so it has 2. See this? It has 2 ordered pairs as the solution. This is 2 solutions. Okay. It can have no solution, which means it doesn't cross at all. So see how it doesn't touch the x-axis at all. So this is a no solution. I want to make this look like no solution, sorry. Or it can actually be a double root where it touches, but only touches at one place. This is actually, it's weird, but this is called a double root. It's a double root because when you factor to solve these problems, your factors are exactly the same. So that's why it's a double root. And it'll make sense to you once you start solving. That you have 2 solutions here, and this is also 1 solution, sorry. Because it's only 1 point. You have 2 solutions here, no solution because it doesn't cross. Or a double root, which is a 1 solution, which means it crosses at 1 point. Seems kind of weird to call it a double root, but you'll understand more when you start solving them, okay? If you are lost with anything that I said, please just honestly just tell me, okay? This is what I do. Okay? Keep going, all right? So we're going to find our zeros now. Remember, I told you finding your zeros or your roots or your x-intercepts, they're exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. Okay? And so this is how you do that. You do that by factoring. That's how you do it. So we got y is equal to x squared minus 5x minus 14. We factor this. So we know that this first number is a 1. Okay? So this is a trinomial. So we automatically going to assume, look, we didn't have a GCF, so we're going to do 2 parentheses. What are we going to put here in both parentheses? Somebody said it and whispered it, x. Because x times x gives us x squared. Now we're going to make a table. What are we going to put here in the table? What are we going to put here at the top? Negative 14. So we find two numbers that can be multiplied by negative 14, but gives us a sum of what? Negative 5. Huh? Yeah. Okay, so what two numbers can be multiplied to give us a negative 14? Negative 7 and 2, and positive 2. So when I add those together, negative 7 plus 2, does that give me a negative 5? Yes, it does. So you can use negative 7 and positive 2. So that's minus 7 plus 2. Questions about that? Are y'all okay with that? Okay. I see some people still writing, so I'll pause for the calls, okay? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Give me 1 second. Is there anyone that's still copying this before I go back to that previous page? Okay, so you need to see this part at the bottom. Okay. Hunter, are you okay with that? Are you good? Yes. Uh-huh. Sophie, sit up. What are you doing? Put your eyes back on. There we go. All right. Okay, good deal. Okay, so now all you do here after you factor is you're going to set each of these equal to 0, and they're going to be your solutions, okay? So you have x minus 7 is equal to 0, and you have x plus 2 is equal to 0. So let's solve for x. So how do you solve for x here? What do you do to get x by itself? Can you say it a little bit louder so I can hear? Very good. You're going to add 7 to both sides. So this makes x is equal to what number? 7. Okay. So the parabola crosses at 7, 0. Y is always going to be 0, okay? Because it crosses the x-axis. Any place it crosses the x-axis, your y is always going to be 0. Okay, so let's figure out the other place where it crosses. What do we do now to get x by itself? Minus 2. So when you subtract 2 on both sides, you get x is equal to a negative 2. So where does it cross here? What, comma, what? -2, comma what? 0. These are your two solutions. This is where your parabola crosses the x-axis. Questions about that? Okay, so I'm going to put that here. What did I say? Negative, what did I say? 7 and 0, +7, comma 0. And then the other is -2, -2, comma 0. Okay. Okay. Did y'all get that? Yes. When he goes back, yeah. All right, if you need to go back and watch the video, please go back and watch this video. The one later that I want you to do on your own, I'm gonna write this down. I want you to do this one on your own, number 2. Is y is equal to -2 minus 4x plus 4. I want you to find the axis of symmetry. I want you to find the vertex. I want you to tell me if it's minimum, min, or max. Is it your min or max value? And then find your zeros, roots, x-intercepts, which all have the same meaning. Where does the parabola cross the x-axis? This I want you to do completely on your own, and I'll go over it on Monday. Questions, comments, or concerns? You can go back and watch the video if you need to. Copy this down for right now. And I want you to work on your EOC review work. Any questions, comments, or concerns before I stop video? Yes. Okay, we got it? All right, good folks. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Okay. And I want us to, we need to make sure we cut our cameras on it. Well, let me unpause. Let me stop my video first so you don't be on the video if you don't want to.